Welcome. Welcome everybody back to Rock On Studio Live. My name is Elwood, your host for today, episode 6. If you haven't checked out the past ones yet, definitely jump on it. Subscribe to our YouTube page, Rock On Studio Live, and check out past interviews. Spencer from Ice Nine Kills joined me yesterday. Brent Smith of Shinedown, Lou Brutus with his new book, Sonic Warrior, Joe Cotella of Dead, and definitely watch out for next week. I have Dustin from Starset and Eric from I Prevail that's going to be joining me, and setting up Chris from Chris Motionless from Motionless and White. So a lot of exciting guests, and the whole point of this show is to keep you up to date on everything your favorite bands are doing, and also give you one-on-one time with them. You've always had that question you wanted to ask but never had the opportunity. We are giving you that platform now. Streaming live on YouTube, Twitch, also Facebook Live across the area, and more. Once again, just search Rock On Studio Live. Check out the calendar and make sure you subscribe. Today's guest on the show is somebody that I have always wanted to meet when this project began. So I am very happy to finally be able to talk to him. And I'll be honest, it's my first time meeting him, but I've always had so many questions, and it's really inspiring and amazing to see what they've been doing with their record, Amends, and also the huge success of the first single, Sickness, which is climbing its way up the rock charts as we speak. So joining me today from his home, I give you Sean from Grey Daze. Sean, welcome to Rock On Studio Live, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. How you feeling, man? How's life going today?
I'm feeling good. Thanks for having me on. We're just trying to do the best we can right now with the given scenarios, but try to focus on something positive, and I'd love to talk about music. So we'll stay in the happy zone.
That's it, man. That's what the show is all about. We are here to talk music and not all the chaos of what's going on. We've heard the questions of, what are you doing during quarantine? What are you cooking? How are you passing the time? And I want to concentrate on the music, the band, and inspiration that we're all getting through right now. So first off, man, congratulations on Sickness. You are currently sitting at number 3, I believe, on the rock charts this week. And did you think that you would see the success and watch that song grow the way it is in the rock and roll world right now?
I honestly, without sounding arrogant, I did think so, but probably for different reasons than what you might think. And it has nothing to do with us and the band. Given Chester's history and with Chester's fan base, I think I expected some things to happen just through his fan base's support, because his fans are rabid, man. They love him and everything that he does. So I did expect some success, but I have to say I'm very impressed and very elated with how it's doing and how long it's been on the charts, and just seems to be moving up, a little bit every week. And the band is incredibly gracious to the people that are getting it there.
It's awesome. The first time I heard it, it actually gave me chills, because you can hear the reproduction of the music and having Chester's voice kick in. So how old was Chester when he was recording those vocals?
So on Sickness, he would have been 21 years old. That would have been 1997, early 1998 when we did that record. And so 2021 when we did Sickness.
Wow, amazing. And how was the feel in the studio when you guys were re-recording that and putting that all together? Was it a moment of celebration with the band? Was it somber? What was the mood in the room?
So, it took us nearly 2.5 years to get the record complete. So it was a bit of a roller coaster. And in the beginning, we had just kind of started out on just finishing the tracks the way they were, and then kind of got to the point where we knew we needed to modernize the music. Once we did that, we literally stripped away all of the music and just had his vocals sitting there. And we did that for a couple of months. And that was actually very emotional. A lot of tears shed between the band members and producers we were working with, because you're just sitting there with this raw vocal track and it's speaking to you from beyond. There's this friend, this guy we loved and knew so well. And these vocals, they're older vocals, but they're so incredibly relevant to what he's saying. The emotional connection is so strong to what is being presented to us in the studio. So for the first couple months, it was very difficult. Then it gradually started to become enjoyable, and we started to have fun and tell jokes and reminisce and tell stories. And then it became cathartic and a healing for us. And that's when we started to get comfortable in the mission towards the probably 1.5 to 2-year mark, as we started completing some of these songs and getting him to the point where we felt really proud of what we were doing and thinking that he would have loved, to the point we got these songs to with him.
Now, I know before we lost Chester, he was very excited about the project of getting back together with Grey Daze. And for anybody that doesn't know, Grey Daze is Chester Bennington's original band before Linkin Park. And I know you guys were all looking forward to re-recording all of that music and getting it all put together. Obviously, with the passing of Chester, I feel like everything might have froze for you guys. Was there a process that you had to talk to his widow at the time or the Linkin Park guys? What did you guys do when you thought, oh no, we don't have Chester anymore? Do we still go through with this? Was there doubt, or did you know? I heard it was something he wanted to do, and that was what you guys had in mind, correct?
Okay, so you asked me like 12 questions in there, and I'm gonna try to go through it all. So just to back up a little bit, in 2016, when he called me and we decided to get the band back together, Grey Daze was a passion project for Chester and myself. So we had toyed with putting Grey Daze back together several times throughout the history of the last couple decades. So the first time was in 2002. We toyed with putting it back together. We actually put a show together. But to be quite honest, you know, some of the people in his management and the record label didn't really like these competing things that he was doing. So, and I never viewed it that way, but it was clear from the other side that his label didn't like him doing these other things. But Chester had a passion for playing music with many different people, not just myself. So that first and foremost. In 2016, when we decided to put the band back together, he just called me on the phone. He said, look, man, I miss having a rock band of my own. This is about a year after he left Stone Temple, and I know that weighed on him pretty heavily. He said, I just miss playing with you. I miss hanging with you and just being around my friends. He just wanted something of his own. So that's kind of how it started. Once we started working on the music, we started working on 3 tracks. While Chester was out on the road, we went in the studio with another producer, started working on rearranging some of these songs, and we'd go back and forth over the phone, via email, via text. You know, here's what we're doing. What do you think? He'd share what he thought with me. He was writing new material. We'd get on the phone. He'd share new songs. Oh, I can't wait to record this and do this. So he was very actively involved in what was happening with Grey Daze. A lot of people don't know that because we didn't get to the point of actually doing it with him while he was here. So, you know, you've got a couple of people out there that are like, oh, these guys are just trying to play off his name, and they don't know anything about us or Chester's intention. So it's hard to even pay attention to that kind of crap. And honestly, it's a very few amount of people. So we focus on the positive. Once Chester passed away, everything just stopped. You know, I went out to LA the day he passed and was with Talinda and the family. And I just did my best to try to help them in any way that I could, all the way up until, you know, the funeral. That was a tough day for all of us. And as far as picking the music back up, that didn't happen for several months after Chester had passed. I mean, it just didn't really, I didn't see a way to do it, you know, for the first few months. I would wake up every day with this on my mind going, something is pushing me to get this music done, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know where to start. So one day I just woke up and told my wife, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in the studio with the guys and finish this record. That's what I want to do. Just the best we can do. We'll just pay for it ourselves and do it on our own. We don't need anybody else. It will just get it done to a point where people can actually hear it, because a lot of the Grey Daze stuff was erased from history from Warner Brothers. And you know, there's some people out there saying, oh, that didn't happen. No, it absolutely happened. We had a distribution deal with a company called Orchard that we were selling CDs, everything on iTunes, and it just got erased one day. So those are the facts. Once I decided to do this, I went back and talked with the band members, Mason, Kristen. I said, here's my idea. What do you guys think? They said, we're in. We'll do whatever you want to do. So then I flew out to LA, and Talinda and I have a very good relationship. Not only are we friends for years, but we're also business partners in Club Tattoo. Chester and I were business partners for the last, 15 years of his life in a company called Club Tattoo. So, Talinda and I knew each other very well, had a very open line of communication. And when I went out there, I sat down, I said, look, this is something Chester wanted to do. She obviously knew that. She was married to him. Mm-hmm. She knew how important it was to him. And she said, look, you're his best friend. I know you have his best intentions in mind. I know you're going to do things right. Just be respectful as you do it, and you have my support. And I said, of course, I would never want to make Chester look bad in any way. So that was literally the forethought before every single song when we started was, how do we make this better? is this something Chester would want to do? Would Chester want to work with this person on this track? How everything we did was with his intentions and his best interest in mind, so that we treaded lightly. We felt like we had to curate this entire project very, very carefully.
That's awesome. And it's no secret. We have lost so many great guys in the rock and roll world. And I feel like releasing that music lets them live on. It lets them live on through the lyrics, through the music, and more. So I felt like it was honoring him by putting out this music, by giving it back. This was a way for us to continue to appreciate everything that he did for rock and for music, and hearing him belt out those lyrics. And it's an inspiration. It's an honor at the same time. And that's why I love what we do, because those people will always live on. Those tracks will live on forever, just as long as they don't get erased again out of nowhere. Then we should be good.
This time. And Chester is a voice of a generation. He touched hundreds of millions of fans around the world through Linkin Park, but he also had passion in other arenas, and it's okay. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. Because you like Grey Daze doesn't mean you have to not like Linkin Park, or vice versa. You can love Stone Temple Pilots with Chester. You can love Dead by Sunrise. You can love Linkin Park, and you can love Grey Daze, because in the end of this, you're a fan of Chester. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with the guys in Linkin Park. And to answer that question earlier, we did respectfully reach out to those guys before we started the project, and they gave us a green light and thumbs up and said they were fine with it. But the same time, I don't feel like we owe anybody anything. I don't feel like we owe Linkin Park, or anybody else for that matter, like a permission. I'm not asking permission to complete my own music. So, and I don't mean to sound like an ass when I say that. It's just who I am. I feel like this was something we were working on with Chester. Chester wanted it done. It's common knowledge that he wanted it done. So there's no need to ask permission from anyone other than Chester's widow, Talinda, and I went to Chester's parents as well, just to get their blessing. They know and they love me, and the feeling's mutual, and they know that I'm very respectful towards their son, and I always took a big brother approach, and I'm very protective over him. Even after he's gone, I'm very protective over him. When I see somebody say something snide or smart ass, I grew up, and I don't know about you, but I grew up when somebody would say something snide, you had to pay a consequence for it. In the age of the internet, you don't. You've got a bunch of these internet, warriors that say horrible things about people. So enough about that. Anyways.
No, that's great, man. I got a great question here. And if you guys do have any questions, you can feed that right in the comments. Is there a song that touched you the most when reworking in the studio?
Yes. First of all, every single song touched me the most, but there's a song on the album called Shouting Out that the lyrics in the chorus, it's going to help give a better understanding of who Chester felt like he was deep inside when the fans hear the song. The biggest line in the chorus says, "I didn't mean to let you down." And Chester, it's not going to feel good to hear this, but Chester never felt like he was enough in life. He always felt like he wasn't good enough. He always felt like he wasn't cool enough. He always felt like he wasn't smart enough. These are real feelings. He shared these with me when he was alive, and we would talk about them. And I said, bro, you are a lot more than you think you are. People love you for so many reasons, not just because you can sing. The people who know you love you for who you are. You're a great dad. You're a great husband. You're a great friend. You're a great human being. And he just doubted himself. And that chorus, to me, when we heard that in the studio, man, our guitar player Kristen started crying, and I just looked at him. I'm getting a little choked up even remembering this moment right now, where he just says, "I didn't mean to let you down," and it just summed up how Chester felt about himself. He felt like he was a disappointment, and no matter how many times we talked to him, or would bring this up in conversations, it's just this thing that's just deep seated in him. And ultimately, I think it's what led him to do what he ended up doing. So that song really touched me on a deep level, and I think it's going to touch the fans. And then we did this really, I think, beautiful thing at the end of that song. There was a voicemail left. We have a bunch of voicemails and texts and stuff from Chester, but there was one in particular that was left on a friend of ours named Renee Mata. He's one of the guys that was very instrumental in putting a lot of the producers and stuff together on this record. And It's just Chester telling him he loves him, saying hi, what's up, I love you, you know, I miss you. We put that voicemail at the end of that song. It's just Chester saying goodbye, and I think that's going to give a lot of people goosebumps when they hear it.
Gives me goosebumps just hearing you talk about it.
It was a very special moment, and so to answer that question, the song "Shouting Out," and then we have a guest vocalist on that track singing a duet with Chester. Her name is LP, and she does a beautiful job.
Unbelievable. Can't wait to hear the whole thing. Now, we originally was supposed to be released in April, but now you have pushed it back. I believe is June 10th the date of the release now?
No, it was April 10th. Now it's June 26th.
June 26th. That's what it is. What was your mindset behind delaying the release of it? Was it what's going on, or was there something else?
There's two main things. First, no one wants to throw a party in the middle of a hurricane, right? No one. Yep. That's just doesn't feel right. That's just first. It doesn't feel right. Two, the supply and distribution chain is massively screwed right now. I mean, the stuff that's being printed and pressed, I mean, none of it's coordinated together right now. Our record label can't even get into their building in LA. Most of them are working from home. So the logistics on trying to release this, it was a nightmare. So we said, you know what? Time out. Let's wait till this feels right. Let's push it out. We'll give the fans some more music in the meantime, but let's do this right, because rushing this thing to the finish line, I mean, it's been many years. We can wait a few more months.
Yeah, 100%. It's all about that timing. So now you just released another song, Sometimes, and you actually released a campaign with a phone number. Give us a little backstory of what you're doing there.
So we kind of shifted gears. The label wanted to release another song, and then as this kind of COVID thing just blossomed into something horrible, one of the guys, Adam at the label, called and said, you know, what do you feel about releasing Sometimes? And said the messaging in that song is so strong and relevant to what's happening right now. How would you feel about that? I said, I think that's actually pretty compassionate. It gives us something to give the fans other than just another song. It gives them a message that can be carried with the music. And once we did that, we got the idea in to do this. Really, I don't think it's ever been done before. You know, we were going to do a lyric video for the music, and one of the ideas was, what if we had a text message from somebody that was feeling anxious, like the current situation we're in with this COVID thing, just about life, about anything. It could be any situation. They're just feeling anxious and scared. And the lyrics for the song, it's just like Chester is texting the lyrics back to this person as they're trying to release this anxiety. And I'm really proud of that video. I think we did the song justice by doing it that way. And I just felt like it was really different. It was a really different take on a lyric video. And the messaging in the song is very special. It says, look, a lot of things go wrong in life. It's just life. But there's always hope. You know, this message of hope in this song is really profound. It says, maybe things will get better. Maybe things will look brighter. And it's just this giant question mark of hope. Like, it is going to get better, you know? And I think the messaging is very powerful on that track.
Unbelievable. Yes, you can check out more. You could do search Grey Daze on Facebook, where you can see that lyric video and more, plus the 833 number that they have there up. I want to ask you this. Is there one memory of Chester from when you were younger that will always put a smile on your face? Was it a situation you guys were in? Was it something he said? Is there something that's always going to be there to put you a smile on your face?
Oh, man, I got hundreds of those stories. But so before I jump into that, I didn't answer your question about the phone number. I'm sorry. So the phone number you just mentioned, that kind of came up after the song. We started getting a lot of messages with people sharing their stories of hope and how this song touched them emotionally. So we came up with this idea, if we give people a phone number, they can leave us a voicemail and share a story, a message of hope, or how Chester touched them and in their life, just whatever message they want to leave us to help them cope with what's going on. So sorry, I kind of skipped over that question earlier. So thanks for reminding me at the end of that. Yes, there are 100 stories of things that make me smile or laugh about Chester. One quick one, you know, we were doing a show one time. Oh man, which one do I want to tell here? So there's one time where we rented this big light rig and we're playing in front of a sold out crowd, and Chester's microphone cable gets caught in one of these lights that's whipping around on the stage like this, and it just winds him up like a garden hose. And he ends up singing in a fetal position down on the stage into the light, literally down on the ground into this thing because his mic cord was wrapped all the way up. That always makes me laugh when I think about that. But you know, we have so many great memories. We would go down and we'd vacation together down in Mexico, or we'd play basketball together. And it seemed like almost every time he was with me, he would end up getting hurt. And I always, he'd come out to see me in Arizona. We'd play basketball. He'd break an ankle, or we'd be working out. He'd break a wrist. Or I always like, God, it's not me. I swear to God, I don't want to say clumsy. He was actually very agile and super in shape, but it just seemed like he always got hurt. So yeah, I've got a bunch of stories, and just thinking about it in general makes me smile.
I love that story with the lighting rig. I can picture him doing that.
Instead of just, stopping, he didn't want to stop the song. So he just down on the ground. It was great, man.
That's when they say the show must go on, right? That's rock and roll. I have so many great memories from Chester as well. Hybrid Theory from Linkin Park was one of the albums that really got me into rock, and I know it touched a lot of people, and that was the big introduction. And also, they were one of the first bands to really cross over. They were going from alternative to rock to top 40, and they were doing something that I felt like a generation they were speaking to. And I think one of the most emotional things about Chester is that we took a lot of his lyrics and music for granted. As much as I sang along to every single song, I screamed the screaming parts, I rapped the rapping parts. And at the same time, I don't think we were registering what the lyrics really were doing to him, as we were all taking them and making them our own and loving the band and loving what they were doing. After the passing of Chester and the memorials and rock radio, once again, I mean, we've always embraced Chester for everything he's done, but going back and listening to those songs, it was almost like he was crying out. And sometimes I felt like, was this his therapy, or was he actually reaching out and asking for help? And that's something that I battle with back and forth every time. Do you think Chester was saying to you guys, hey, I need something? Or he was saying, hey, I just want to belt out these lyrics and this is the way I get it off my chest? That's something that I battle with all the time.
I don't think he was asking for help in his lyrics. It was a way for him to express the way he was feeling deep down. At least that's my opinion. Mm-hmm. Obviously the lyrics take on a much deeper meaning now that he's gone. Not only with Linkin Park, but with Grey Daze and Dead by Sunrise as well. He obviously was a tortured soul, and I knew about a lot of his issues through our friendship, and I know that singing is just something he was born to do. Chester had this gift that I don't think many singers have. Only several singers in my lifetime have this gift. And he has this ability through his singing for the listener who may not understand how to express the pain that they're going through. They can listen to Chester and they can go, that is exactly how I feel. Now I don't feel so alone because I know somebody else. They can connect through him emotionally, through his lyrics, but it's not just his lyrics, because it's the way he's able to emotionally deliver those lyrics to the listener so that they can, you just said it yourself, you were applying them to your own life. And that's exactly my point, is that not many singers can do that. He had this gift that allowed his expression to be absorbed to the listener in their own experience. And that was just so incredibly special. Just a characteristic that he had that I think is just overlooked a little bit.
So when fans take in all this new music, we've got Sickness and we've already seen the success on it. Now sometimes it's going to be out. The record, Amends, will be released on June 26th. You can pre-order that now, actually, through their website. When everybody is getting behind it and loving the music, have you guys thought about, do we take this on the road? How do we put this in front of people? Is that something that you're thinking about doing in the future?
No. The entire idea behind finishing this album was to finish something we started with our friend Chester. These songs are very special. I wrote the lyrics with Chester. The journey was 2.5 years to get to the finish line, to get this thing completed. We did this in tribute to our friend. We did it for our friend. We did it to honor our friend. So it would feel a little bit disingenuous to get to the finish line and say, oh, here's our new singer. That doesn't feel right at all. The only possible way we would do anything live would be in a tribute fashion, where we would bring in guest singers, people that meant something to Chester, or people that would want to honor Chester in a tribute fashion. So that would be for Chester and about Chester. But we have no intentions of trying to replace him. That's not something I'm interested in doing.
So we all knew Chester as the rock and roll guy that we all lived up to with his multiple bands. Was there a side of Chester that maybe wasn't so rock? Did he like anything that might have shocked people when it came to the music format? I'm sure he listened to a lot of different types, but was there one type of music was that maybe people would be shocked that he was a huge fan of?
He was a music fan in general. So, I mean, his taste went all the way back to the 60s. I mean, he loved the Doors. He loved, Lou Reed. I mean, you wouldn't think of him as a Lou Reed fan. He loved David Bowie. I mean, there was a lot of stuff, but he was one of those guys too. Like, you'd be in a room and a song would come on from 1974 and he would know every lyric and belt it all out. Music was just a part of his soul in a way that, I love music. I love playing music, but I don't pretend to be at the same point with music in my life. It was literally ingrained in his DNA. He loved so many bands. We shared a band called Keane, Keane, which is kind of like, it's like pop rock stuff, but we loved it. And we knew every song that band put out. So Depeche Mode was a huge band for him. The Cure was a huge band for him. So not all this heavy stuff. The heavy stuff for him, in my mind, came from that internal pit in his stomach of pain that he had. That was his voice of expression, was that scream that everyone came to know and love, right? Mm-hmm. But he loved that pop sensibility of other bands, and he loved hip hop, and he loved Jay-Z, and he loved all kinds of variety of music. He even liked classical and loved plays and stuff like that. So he was all about it in many different genres.
I loved it, man. Some of my favorite memories were from those anger management tours that they would put together. And I loved them because it had everything. You had Linkin Park. You had Eminem before he was the huge Eminem, Exhibit, and Limp Bizkit. And I mean, that's when rock was really dominating the world. And a huge deal with that was Chester and Linkin Park, like I said before, with that crossover. So amazing stuff. Sean, I cannot thank you enough for taking on this project and releasing that music to give everybody another sense of what Chester was all about, and more music for Let Him Live On. And like you said, to be able to honor him. And I know how stressful and how emotional it must have been on all of you, but the gift you're giving for listeners and for Chester fans is something that we can all take and we could all move on. We could all live on with. So even more opportunities to hear the amazing musician, artist, and person he was, and also helping people through dark times, because people still need that music. We need to bring it to ourselves, and we need to help ourselves out. And music doesn't have a language. It speaks to all. As we're on this call right now, seeing people joining in from Brazil and Poland and from all around the world, it just speaks to the volumes of how much music can go around the world. So we can't wait for it. Amends, June 26th, the record will be out. Sean, tell everybody again where they can pre-order that record right now.
You can go to greydazmusic.net or .com, greydazmusic.com. You can go to iTunes. You can go, I believe you can order it from several different venues or websites, but greydazmusic.com is probably the main one.
Awesome. Sean from Grey Daze, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us today in Rock On Studio Live, bringing you one-on-one with all of your favorite bands and getting the questions that you want answered. I appreciate you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you, and congratulations on the success of Sickness. We'll be watching that sucker and hopefully go up to #1. And at the same time, guys, definitely listen for that new single Sometimes. And if you or somebody you know needs help, there are plenty of places out there to help you right now. So please reach out and get help. I'll post up all the latest phone numbers and more. If you are looking for that reach out, we will cover you. Don't forget to subscribe to Rock On Studio Live for all the future interviews set up with Dustin from Starset, Eric from I Prevail, Chris from Motionless and White, and check out past episodes as well on YouTube, Rock On Studio Live. Sean, you're the man. Thank you so much for bringing us the amazing music that you have. We can't wait to hear the whole record. And thank you for being a guest on Rock On Studio Live.
Thanks for having me, man. This was a great interview. Thanks.
All right, guys, have a great day. Remember, stay safe. We'll be back next week with more interviews. Subscribe. Rock On Studio Live. My name is Elwood. We'll talk to you again soon.